There you go.
All right. Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. This is the brothers of GMS New Orleans coming at you with another live lesson. But before we get started, as always, we're going to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai Bahasham Rakak. The honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you, sincere Akim out there, pushing this word of truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers adhere to the end. Shabbat Shalom. And the title of this lesson is hard times ahead, because we can clearly see uncomfortable times ahead. We can clearly see things are heating up on all levels. From geopolitically with that situation over in the Middle East. You know, civil unrest brewing in this country. Talks of shortages, tariffs, inflation, all those things. And brothers is really gonna have to get in that spirit of being uncomfortable and spending this time right now. Acclimating yourself to going without, and just preparing for hard times to come. And, you've had a lot of brothers on that kick lately, just preparing for the amenities that we're so used to right now to be taken away. You had Apostle Tahar say a couple of months ago that even he's getting into shape because hey, there'll come to the time you might have to manhandle somebody out here or just be on the run.
Uh,
But yeah, we're gonna start it off at Second Ezra 16 and
I say 28.
uh, six, yeah, 16 and 40. You were gonna start at 28.
Yeah.
Kai, you can read 28.
This is Second Ezra chapter 16, verse 28. It says, for a city there shall be 10 left, and two of the field, which shall hide themselves in the thick groves. All right. And in the clefts of the rocks.
Hey, just and when you read a verse up, it says, "So that one man shall desire to see another and to hear his voice." And even in 26, it says, "The grapes shall ripen, and who shall tread them? For all places shall be desolate of men." There's going to be great judgments about to come down the pipeline, where many people are going to, die to the point, as it says in those verses, that a man's going to desire to see another man because it's just going to be that, desolate and troublesome out here.
Uh, let's see. Well, I jumped down to 33.
Kind
30 verse 33, second Ezra 16. It says, "And the virgin shall mourn, having no bridegrooms, and the women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. And in the wars shall the bridegrooms be destroyed, and the husbands shall perish of famine."
A is talking about many men being killed in the wars and in the famines, and a lot of women being in a state of lamentation out here because they're gonna have nobody helping them. That's gonna go for women especially, but for men as well, because everybody in this American society heavily relies on the system. You know, Electricity at your fingertips, the internet. You can go to the store and buy whatever you want. We're coming to the times when those things are going to be taken away, and people are really going to have to rely on the skills that they don't have.
I'm gonna say this too, because the war just ain't coming on going over there to the Middle East. It's gonna be the war in these streets too, man, on a home front level. All right. All right. Women gonna lose their husbands and what it is, husbands, even their so-called fiancés and shit, man. All right, because a lot of these dudes out here, you're gonna get drafted. All right, you're seeing how the things are quickly escalating over there in the Middle East with Iran and in those small hats, man. Which I'm tuning in tonight. I hope we see some something to behold our eyes tonight, man. A lot of you guys finna get drafted over there and go fighting that war, the bankers' war. Okay.
Uh, uh,
Yeah, a little more. See, yeah, they got some more. It says, "Hear now these things and understand them, ye servants of the Lord. Behold the word of the Lord. Behold the word of the Lord. Receive it. Believe not the gods of whom the Lord spake. Behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack."
hey, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack. All of these things are at the door. wars and rumors of wars, famines, pestilences, a nation rising against nation, a man having no pity upon his neighbor. And as I said, 36, behold the word of the Lord and receive it. Which, you've got the prophets putting up video epistles like this right now, going on to the highways and byways preaching this word, telling you the truth of the things to come. And as I said, believe not the gods of whom the Lord spake. These other idols and people or whatever, that this American beast system that these people hold faith in. They really think that when things get bad, the government's going to come to their aid. Well, look at 2019 to 2021. They allowed that to happen and told you to get something to make it better. Now, a lot of y'all are walking around fucked up out here.
God. It goes on to say, behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack, as when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son. All right. Within 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb, which pains, when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment.
Mhm.
Even so, not the plagues to be, my bad. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrows shall come unto it on every side.
And when you read further up in this chapter around verse 14, it says, like an arrow which is shot of a mighty archer. This is verse 16 in 2nd Ezra 16.
Fuck this jackass, man. All right. Go ahead.
Like as 2nd Ezra 16 and 16. Like as an arrow which is shot of a mighty archer, returneth not backward, even so the plagues that shall be sent upon the earth shall not return again. Going back to that verse 38 to 39, like a woman in travail in those birth pains, once that baby's ready to come and that water breaks, she's not able to keep that baby back. And it's no different with these plagues, which Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai is quickly bringing to pass. It's getting to the point where even the average everyday person out here is talking about, things that you would only heard the men of the Lord or those in alternative media talk about or allude to in the past. I think you were saying you saw a clip with some country ass Eves somewhere saying Iranian sleeper cells. They're worried about that. Which when in the average everyday Jake ever worry about anything like that? It's because these things are just becoming that much more pronounced out here that you can't escape it. You're gonna have to face reality.
Right. It goes on to say, verse 40, which is the point. O my people, hear my word, make ye ready to the battle, and in which evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth.
God, and oh my people, hear my word, make you ready to the battle, and in those evils, all these calamities that are coming, be even as pilgrims upon the earth, preparing for these uncomfortable times to come. Because we're about to be, brought through rough ways, Jacob's trouble, which, if we're at that elect number, we're going to be saved out of it. But hey, we are going to have to, deal with that thing, right in our faces.
Being uncomfortable. That's what this video is about.
Mm-hmm.
Being uncomfortable. Because one thing about a pilgrim is in the state of a nomad. All right. They don't have no particular home. They just going from one place to another to another. All right. And instantly ready to be on the move, man. All right. And that's what a lot of you brothers out there, and you sincere, you got to get in a state of being, all right, ready to move at a moment's notice. At any moment now, it can go down, man. All right. You need to start doing things that can help. First and foremost, having these scriptures, all right, sealed in you. And then, like I say, being able to move at a moment's notice, man.
God.
And then, like I say, a lot of brothers being into the outdoor shit. You know what I'm saying? Learning how to, do certain things. You definitely gotta be equipped. Go ahead.
Kind of give me a 1 Thessalonians 5, start at verse 1.
Coming over up. Said 1 Thessalonians.
God. Because, we have a leg up on the things to come by understanding these prophecies. We know that times, 1 Thessalonians 5, you can start at 1. Because, understanding these prophecies, we have a leg up on these people out here. because we're around a bunch of Edomites right now, having little baseball games with their kids. For the majority of people out here, they think that they've got that something called normalcy bias, where since things haven't happened, for decades, especially in America, that things are just going to go on as normal. Yeah, prices may go up. Yeah, I may not like the person that's in the president's office, but this is America. It can never go down here. Well, they've said that in every major empire before it's collapsed.
Hey, let the shit go by, bro. But even that guy, Benjamin Netanyahu, he said, even you Americans over here, you better be ready for coming attacks on the home front, man. Right? And they gonna all do it in the name of Iran. All right? They gave you back in 2001, Bush, Daddy, baby Bush, Bush Jr. They made a boogeyman. They created a boogeyman out of nowhere, all in the name of
AQ,
yeah, AQ.
Osama,
Oh yeah,
Osama Obama.
yeah. It gave you a whole boogeyman. And guess what? Our grandparents, our mothers and fathers, uncles, they believed that boogeyman, and they gave you a reason. They orchestrated a reason to go and deal with the boogeyman. Now we coming fast forward to the times of we the children of our parents and now we have become up in age. What they doing now? They have made another boogeyman.
Saying, backing up what you said, Netanyahu said to Trump, hey, we've unveiled two deletion attempts on you by Iran. And a couple of months ago, Trump had said, if Iran takes me out, then we're going to obliterate them. A narrative's being set for something major to take place. And when that next major event, that next 911 type event takes place, just as that completely changed you Americans' way of life here, this one's going to change it even more so.
Because even when I was back then, at that time I was in middle school, and I heard about teachers and certain other men that was probably in their 20s and 30s. They were so patriotic. They enlist themselves into going fight. So that the same narrative is going to happen where they're gonna make a narrative so sweet to you, to where a lot of you jakes you're gonna sign up. Or matter of fact, you're gonna be drafted against your
Both.
both.
And,
They gonna make you go fight this war.
and it's going to have to be something drastic.
Yeah.
Because you got a lot of people in Gen Z saying, look, I'd rather go to jail. You can do whatever you want. I'm not going to fight. But as the brother brought out in that second Ezra 16 and 34, how many of the men are going to get killed in the wars. And we know a draft is coming. It's going to be something just completely life changing to get people, that are on the fence to, either sign up or get drafted to go fight and die in mass numbers. And that's exactly what the powers that be want.
Yeah.
They want that chaos, complete chaos, to bring about that order.
Yeah.
You had K. Schwab talk about the times of the poly crisis, and poly means, many.
Yeah.
So they've set up everything perfectly to where they've got so many different avenues they could go to just, bring about, this great change that they want to bring about. But us having an understanding of these scriptures, as it says in Second Corinthians 2:11, lest Satan should get an advantage of us, for we're not ignorant of his devices. We can see these things and we can see how Esau's moving out here. So what? We're preparing ourselves spiritually and mentally, and to an extent physically for it. So we won't get completely, taken off guard like a thief in the night, as we're about to go into, like the majority of these people out here.
They want to make it to where, all right, they can overwhelm the society with so many attacks to where you people out here will be begging for martial law. All right, you're gonna be begging for them to step in with the order. All right,
And they did it. Another thing during 2019 to 2021, people were saying, "Oh, I'm never gonna drink the juice," but then they just turned on a little bit of the screws. You can't go to the gym. You can't go to public events. You may lose your job if you don't get the juice, and people are clamoring to get the juice and to go back for seconds.
thirds, fourths, and fifths, man.
And there wasn't even any physical pressure being put to you. No gun to your head. No T attacks out here. No, nothing that where you actually saw people dropping in mass numbers right before your very eyes. So when they come with that stuff, you people are ripe for the taking.
Yeah. Check the sound already. Oh, I got you. I'm gonna get a First Thessalonians chapter 5:1. All right. It says, but of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly
Good.
that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night.
Straight to the point. But of the times and seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. Because what are we doing right now during this grace period? Preparing ourselves for the coming of the Lord and the coming of Jacob's trouble.
Yep.
For ye yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night, which, it's going to come as a thief in the night to these people out here because, they aren't looking at things from a spiritual perspective as we are, knowing that these things are a certainty. They still have hope in the system, and they still really believe that this government out here gives a damn about them when it's your own government that's orchestrating these terrors that they're about to bring upon you.
Right. It goes on to say, verse 3, for when they shall say peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them as travail upon a woman with child. All right. And they shall not escape.
For when they shall say peace and safety. And things are getting chaotic right now, but again, you got people believing the government story that, oh, we're going to get rid of the migrants, we've got dominance over Iran or anything like that. Oh, the economy is great, peace and safety. Then sudden destruction. It's going to come, like a sucker punch and completely knock you off guard because you've been lulled into that false sense of security.
Yeah, it's safety. You think everything's sweet, man. Like down here earlier this year at the January 1st, they had a T attack down here to where after that, everything that was after that leading up to the Super Bowl, people was feeling safe. Oh, I like the helicopters around. I love the military troops. It was loving the Humvees and the checkpoints and all that other shit, the blockades and shit that was doing. I feel so safe. You had black women saying it. You had old Jakes, Northern Kingdom. All of them was saying how they felt so safe, right? But all that shit can just be a test run.
Hey,
And then right after the Super Bowl was over with, and the Super Bowl
Mardi Gras.
and Mardi Gras was over with, you haven't seen none of that shit since, man.
Mhm.
All right, the same. You can go do the same shit right now on the street right now that they got there.
Yeah, it's completely wide open. My job has me in the French Quarter damn near every day of the week. So I was, in the quarter, in the aftermath of that event, and I can back up this brother. You had Black Hawks, you had
Little birds.
Ospreys, which are those helicopters with the two rotors on it. It looked like something out of the Dark Knight. You had troops with the gear. I'm talking the vest and the M16 with a chest full of magazines on it, just walking around, and people, your average dildo head out here, walking next to him with a hand grenade in their hand.
Yeah, yes, the dogs that sniff shit. They had all that shit out there, man.
Checkpoints.
They look like the movie Tom Clancy Alpha. You ever seen that? Tom Clancy Alpha.
Oh no, I haven't seen that.
Look like some space age shit going on, man. Drones is following and monitoring every goddamn thing, man. But you people love it. You don't see that the pot is boiling and you in the pot. You ain't actually in the pot,
Mm-hmm.
But people crazy, man.
Kind
You want me to keep going?
of, you can go down to verse 6, Baba Kashar.
All right, it goes on to say,
Shit, we might. She'll go down to verse 6.
right, it says, but ye brethren are not in darkness, that the day shall overtake you as a thief.
Because we see these things coming, that saying, a mile away. So with us having the foresight, we're preparing ourselves accordingly, spiritually, mentally, and physically. Brothers, there's been a heavy kick, amongst the brothers of GMS to get your health up, eat better, just getting
Everything.
yeah, just getting that state of, being ready so you don't have to get ready.
Because what happened right here, not only we were a part of that warning. We got warned by the elders, apostles, and bishops, but yet we believed. We took heed to that warning. So that's why these coming things is not going to take us as a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
It goes on to say, "Ye are all the children of the light, in the children of the light, my bad, in the children of the day, we are not of the night, nor of darkness.
And what did Job say? I go not where I know not forth, but to a land of darkness, where light is as darkness. He was talking about Babylon, which this whole place is engulfed in that spiritual darkness. And when you're in darkness, you can't see. So that's the majority of these Americans out here, especially 2/3 of our people. They're engulfed in that gross darkness. But what? We're the children of the light and of the day. We have that spiritual eyesight and the understanding to prepare ourselves accordingly. So again, brothers should be getting in that mindset to what? Know that uncomfortable times are coming. So you're gonna have to prepare yourself accordingly.
Yeah.
You can't be you can't be letting, because Satan's been working in overdrive lately on, brothers, whether it be the job, the family, the woman, anything you have issues with, Satan's gonna be hitting those pressure points to what? Lull you back into that false sense of security.
Yeah, you also gotta do something to help. We have the faith, the belief in Yahweh Shem Shai, but also the scripture says bodily exercise profited little.
Mm-hmm.
It says little, but it also says profit. It has a benefit to it too. You know, even being having some mental clarity in your mind. You be kind of tied up with all type of things, but the things you should be paying attention to, you don't.
Yeah.
You should be having a clear mind and able to exercise yourself in some type of way. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jake should know better than to be eating, brother's chicken every day. You gotta,
That's
here we got brothers that do lessons on the herbs, on eating better, juicing. Now, of course, some brothers' financial situations may not be like that, but you can. There's always a way to find a balance to your diet, and do little exercises here and there. We can't just be sitting around eating bonbons all day, just thinking, oh, this body's gonna get destroyed anyway, so fuck it.
Yeah. Trying to get big as Rikishi, man. You look at Possible Boy and them, they be riding a bike, boy. I'm like, God damn, and it gets you. It gets we follow that. They like our spiritual parents, so you see them. Which brothers are doing it already? But you see them hitting certain goals. Like, damn, I went 4 miles. And I'm like, damn. Let me go try to go 4 miles. Go more.
And I remember videos a couple of years ago, where, brothers and the apostles, they had a little more weight on them, but they've been getting into that health kick, and they, look like completely different people.
Yeah, if you come into a time, man, if you're not able to walk a block or run a full city block or more, you through, man. All right, for the things to come.
Mm-hmm.
All right, you go down 3-4 stairs in the front of your house, you already gas. Something wrong, man. All right, that's on a whole other note too.
Con.
Well, where was that? 5.
Yeah, we're at 6.
It says, therefore, let us not sleep as do others, but let us watch and be sober.
You read.
Okay. It says for they that sleep in the day, sleep in the night, and they that be drunken are drunken in the night.
Mm-hmm.
But let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for a helmet, the hope of salvation.
Hey,
that's what it's about. Go ahead.
Yo, you got it.
No, you got it.
As I said, but let us who are of the day be sober, putting on the breastplate of faith and love, and for an helmet, the hope of salvation. Exercise profited little. So, you should be doing what you can here and there to get better. But first and foremost, we're relying on Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai to get us through these things. That's what keeps us, with that spiritual foresight, keeping us in the daytime, not drunk or in darkness like these people out here that just think that things are just going to keep going on as they've gone on. But we can clearly see everything is collapsing.
Go ahead.
But we can clearly see that, we ain't got much longer before something major happens.
Yeah. I got one real fast to go into that breastplate, and it also is going to all boil down to having faith, man. All right. You have faith now when nothing's going on, or you're going to still have that faith when it's crunch time. All right. When all hell's breaking loose, when there's pressure on all sides being applied, man. All right. But it's Ephesians 6 and 13 says, "Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of the Most High, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand." All right, all right. Stand therefore, having your loins girded about with truth, and having on the breastplates of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparations of the gospel of peace.
And being those children of the light, having, this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, that light being inside us. And as I said, what if your light, if your eye be single, then your whole body is full of light. We are constantly living, walking, and breathing this thing. That's why we have, faith and hope and an expectation that we're going to make it out of it. But what does that come with? What does that faith come with? Works. So we got to keep up our end, constantly being diligent and doing whatever we can to not, let the fiery darts of Satan or the ways of this world, pull us out,
Right.
which it's only going to ramp up from here on out.
It's about to intensify, man. You can already see this police state that we're in. All right, going into the riots of LA. All right, the things you've seen on TV. These devils are finna go with their move. Right now, it's even much more time to have more faith. It's even much as you get closer to the end of the race. Like we always say, you're running a race, whether it's the 400, the 200. Let's take the 400 instance. When you go around that track and you start making it back around the other side of the 200, that's when it's time to kick in. That last stretch of that 100 meter, it's time to kick it in. In overdrive, man. And that's the times we're in. Pushing out, Lord will, able to push out even more videos. It's get to the point. If you're able to bring it out multiple times a week, hey, do that. Go ahead.
The brother Kayat used this quote, did a lesson off of it, but it's a very heavy quote from Bob Marley. You never know how strong you are until being strong is the only choice you have. And that's the time we're coming into, is where we're going to have to stand on big faith and solely rely on Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, putting on the breastplate of faith, that the helmet and the shield and, all the spiritual armor of righteousness, these scriptures, being our guide and, in our spirit.
Goes on to say, and above all, take the shield of faith, wherewith ye are able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of the Most High.
And straight to the point. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. We have faith in Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, that he is going to get us through these things that we're quickly coming into. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of the Most High. And what gives us this faith, this understanding of the word, and especially now, seeing that all these things we've been reading, preaching, and believing in are taking place right before our very eyes. If the scriptures tell us that bad times are to come, and we see the bad times are coming, it also says that the Lord is going to guide us through it, and that there's ultimately going to be salvation. So we have that expectation that those things are going to take place as well.
It goes on to say, praying always with all prayers and supplication in the Spirit, and watching thereunto with all perseverance and supplication of all saints. And for me, the utterance may be given unto me, that I may open my mouth boldly to make known the mysteries of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador of bonds, that therein I speak boldly as I ought to speak.
And hey, with us having that expectation of salvation and having faith and believing in these words, and now literally seeing them come to pass, we speak that much more boldly of these things. As it says in Wisdom of Solomon chapter 5, though now, shall the righteous man stand in great boldness in the face of those that have afflicted him. We can see, these judgments are coming and our enemies are about to fall. So that builds up, our strength, spiritually that much more. We're not in darkness as these people. We're not going to operate as we got that spirit. We're not going to buckle and fold when Esau comes down with that pressure. We're going to know that, wherever the chips may fall, as long as we remain faithful unto Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shai, we're going to receive that crown.
Yeah, man.
You had another one?
Nah. Yeah, I want.
Yeah, I might have. Yeah, we can get one more. Sirach, Sirach chapter 2. Should I say? I won't be reading the whole chapter, but we can start at one.
This is Sirach, chapter 2, verse 1. It says, "My son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure and make not haste in the time of trouble."
And when we're not walking in darkness as others do, but walking in the spirit, having the breastplate, the shield, the faith, you know, the sword of Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, the spirit and the understanding of the word, that's what keeps us calm. That's what's going to be our knowledge, wisdom, and stability in these times to come, as it says in Isaiah 33 and 6. So of course, the flesh is gonna, try to pull at us. But what? Having this this expectation of salvation, we're able to keep ourselves calm and collected and know not to slip and give into the flesh or give into anything that Esau's gonna be coming with.
Yeah, it says, I got one real fast.
Um,
This is Job chapter chapter 5, verse 16. It says, "So the poor has hope, and iniquity stoppeth in her mouth." It says, "Behold, happy is the man that whom the Most High corrected. Therefore, despise not the chastening of the Almighty." You got it.
uh, you can keep going in that one too, despise not the chastening of the Lord, because all the things we've been going through since we put our hands to the plow, no matter how painful they may be, it's been Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, what? Tempering us, getting us ready for Jacob's trouble. That's what everything has been a build up to. While these other people out here have been in gross darkness and spiritually drunk, having a good old time, being fat and happy like hogs and sleep and shit, you know, they're ripe for the taking. They're ripe for the slaughter.
Especially these people down here in Louisiana, they all about partying and bullshit. It's never about work. They party through the week and the weekend. It's never a time of serious. Even when there was a serious time with the T attack this year, they were still bullshit. They still went along with Mardi Gras, man.
They're on Bourbon Street the very next day.
Yeah. So like I said, the Lord got something special for you people down here, man. All right. Like I said, you already a bunch of goddamn people that you behind about 40 years behind everything going on any goddamn way.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Back in that Job 2, or that Job 5, when you read further down, it just goes to show that, the Lord is going to defend his men in that day.
Yeah. But I'm going back in Sirach chapter 2, verse 3. It says, cleave unto him, and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at the last end.
Keep going.
It says, whatsoever is brought unto thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate.
Hey, despise not thou the chastening of the Lord, because by us, having faith in what Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai has said to take place in the scriptures, we know that we have to go through hard times. We have to take the low. But what? It's ultimately to build us up. As it says in Hebrews, pretty much, whom the Lord deals with, he deals with as sons. He correcteth you as sons. And what? A son loves his father and does what he can to, look out for their best interests. But if he's not dealing with you, then you're a bastard. You're fatherless out here, and you're going to get taken.
Yep. And it goes on to say, whatsoever is brought unto thee, take cheerfully, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate.
Mm-hmm.
For gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of affliction.
Hey, it says, gold is tried in the fire, and acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. So it's likening that gold.
My bad. Adversity.
So it's likening those acceptable men to that gold. And gold is purified in the fire, so that the reflection, brothers always bring up that little story from a goldsmith, that, he puts the gold in the fire and knows that it's purified once his reflection is seen upon it. So that's ultimately what Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai is doing us, burning off these impurities so that our reflection and our light can be seen. And then what? In that Zechariah 13, that the 1/3 shall go through the fire like gold and silver, and while 2/3 therein shall be cut off, like the wood, the stone, the hay, the chaff.
Right. It goes on to say, believe him and he will help thee. Order thy way right and trust in him. Ye that fear the Lord, wait of his mercy and go not aside lest ye fall.
Time. Read verse 8, Baba Kashai.
It says, ye that fear the Lord, believe him, and your reward shall not fail.
Hey, that's the end all be all. Ye that fear the Lord, believe him, and your reward shall not fail. And we just got to keep holding on and know that, uncomfortable times are coming, which, with us having a leg up, knowing these things, we're preparing ourselves accordingly. So we're not taken as a thief in the night and are able to navigate through these times of Jacob's trouble to what? Ultimately, receive salvation, receive that reward, that crown.
Which are the best times. Now we're going to see who's the Lord's men, man.
Mm-hmm.
You got a lot of guys that have been jaw-jacking and mocking and scoffing us for years on this, man. On these very same times. Not what you're gonna say. When the very nations that the prophecies said that was gonna go to war with each other are going to war. All right. What are you gonna say when the mark of the beast, the very chip is being declared in society? Because you can't have one without the other. The destruction with the missiles can't come before the chip. All right. So, but we're in those times, man. What you gonna scoff at now? Now we're in there trying we're in there trying times, man. Which is some beautiful times. This is gonna be some of the most, hey man, some of the most spiritual, evil times it's gonna be, man. And we shall, like I always say, we shall see. All right, the great test is here.
Hey, with us being able to be as pilgrims, things that are gonna hold these other
Jackass.
The things that are gonna hold these other people in place that they won't be able to give up when those same tests come our way. Abaratazah, we're up that number. We're gonna be able to drop it, and just keep on moving, not looking back. As Lot's wife, or going back down for our stuff or anything like that, as it says in the book of Luke. But yeah, anything else?
No, that was it, man.
Hey, so with that, we hope you sincere Akim and Aquath were edified by this live lesson. And before we get out of here, as always, we're going to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well. And peace and salutations to you, sincere Akim out there.
Shalom,
Pushing this
shalom.
word, truth, and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers again to the end. Shalom.
Shalom.